Doug, can you hear us? Okay, and if you have technical difficulties, Ryan said he sent you a text so that you can communicate with him if there are issues. But let us know if at any point you cannot hear us. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. And tonight we gather, per usual, for our regularly scheduled CFSD Governing Board meeting. But this night is different from prior nights, in that our colleague and good friend Amy Bola is no longer with us. After an extended illness, Amy passed away on March 28th in the company of her husband, Cush, and her children, Mason and Lily. Amy battled her illness with the same grace that she approached everything she did in this life. She had a gentle presence about her that always exuded calm, whether she felt that way inside or not. It's one of the qualities that served her so well in the myriad of roles Amy played throughout her life. Her role as a middle school teacher, I would imagine you'd need a lot of inner calm for something like that. As a CFSD board member and president through some tough years, through her FFO work at 3 different schools, her leadership of the Junior League, her sorority Chi Omega throughout her adult life, her role as an advocate for public education across the state and the greater Tucson community, and in her most important roles as wife, mother, sister, daughter, to the extended family that she loved so much. This board will not be the same without Amy Bola, but her contribution to the CFSD community will endure. I thank Amy Bola for her service to the district, her service to the Tucson community, and for her valuable friendship. I will miss her. And now I'd like to give each of our board members and administrators at our table an opportunity, if you so wish, to say just a few words about Amy Bola before we commence with the rest of our meeting. Amy? No?
You're gonna pass it.
Okay. Ina?
Sure. Hi, everyone. So good to see you. As I tried to prepare for this moment, I realized there's little I can say about Amy that Eileen won't have already said, or maybe won't have already thought, or we all, over the last difficult week, would have thought ourselves. Her indefatigable work ethic, her conviction of purpose, her self-deprecating sense of humor, her commitment to the community she serves, including our Catalina Foothill School District. Perhaps the one small addition I can offer to our community is to touch on Amy's servant leadership. This concept of servant leadership is something that in the corporate world we hear often, but perhaps less often in the real world. In brief, a servant leader focuses primarily on the growth and well-being of the communities to which they belong. Whilst traditional leadership generally involves the exercise of power, servant leadership puts the needs of others first and helps people develop and perform as highly as possible. It's at the very heart of volunteerism, and that was Amy. For me, Amy epitomized what it means to be a servant leader. I witnessed this consistently during her long tenure here on our governing board, during our time campaigning together for the election, and for the past year and a half working alongside her as a fellow board member. During every interaction, Amy consistently focused on the needs of our CFSD community, especially our teachers, having spent many years as a teacher herself. She would regularly challenge us to consider how a proposed curriculum change would impact our teachers, what more we could do to address teachers' perspectives and needs, and how we could continue to create a community where every teacher and student feels they belong. Amy's servant leadership sets an example for us all, not only here within our CFSD community, but also across Tucson and beyond. This is why the Arizona House of Representatives will be presenting a death resolution to honor Amy at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, Wednesday, and all are welcome to attend. Amy, thank you for your friendship and your leadership. May you now find rest, secure in the knowledge that you've helped so many teachers, staff members, parents, students, alums, volunteers, and community members here in our CFSD family. Thank you.
Beautiful. Doug? Can I throw it to you? To you? Yeah. Thanks, Doug. Do you want to go?
You know, I'm not good at this, and I didn't prepare anything because I couldn't write anything. I mean, I'm so glad you guys said what you did. It's just, there was just such a hole left. Amy did so much. And, she knew everybody.
Yeah.
Because she did so much.
Yeah.
And I think she really followed her heart. And where her heart led her was organizations and endeavors that helped kids and young adults thrive and to become the best they could be, whether that was Junior League or CIO or here at elementary school, middle school, high school, the foundation, the governing. And I think I know that her legacy is that all these young adults who have benefited from what she felt so strongly about. She led with her heart, but also with so much knowledge and skill and purpose. And I'll miss her. She was one of a kind. And if I am ever thought of as the other Amy, it will be my privilege and my honor.
Thank you. Mary?
Well, as you all said, Amy exemplified service before self. And when I think of her, I'm reminded of a Ralph Waldo Emerson poem titled Success. To laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition. To know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded.
Perfect. Thank you.
I'm going to be succinct. I've sat next to Amy for many years and worked with her for many years. She was, in one word, a champion. A champion for children, a champion for teachers, a champion for her family, a champion for everyone. She does leave a hole on our board because she always kept the people that she was championing for first and foremost, and that was kids in our district. She will be missed.
Thank you all. I appreciate this. I would like to just preside over 1 minute of silence in respect for Amy Bola before we move on to our rest of our meeting. know anything about Amy Bola, she would be saying, let's move on at this point. So we are going to go ahead and move on. And I thought I would ask all of you to stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. I am going to read the rules of order for public comment at a governing board meeting. And you know what? I don't see, doesn't look like we have anyone asking for public comment online. So I'm going to go ahead and read our rules of order. The governing board welcomes public comment at its meetings by providing 2 opportunities for the public to address the board. If your topic of interest is not on the agenda, you may address the board during the public comment time slot near the beginning of the meeting, or if the topic is on the agenda, you may speak just prior to the discussion of that agenda topic. In the event there's a public hearing, the opportunity to speak will be reopened. If you're joining remotely and wish to make public comment, you should have already submitted the Google form provided with the YouTube link. For those attending in person, please hand a completed purple form, which looks like this, request to address the governing board, hand it in to Paula, our board secretary. The information requested on the form is required for the meeting minutes. Speakers will be called on when it's their turn to address the board. For those attending remotely, you may wish to enable your camera. As a reminder to remote attendees who wish to speak, please unmute your microphone when called upon. Tonight we'll have 3 minutes to address the board. The sound of a buzzer indicates the end of your time. In the event of a large number of speakers, the board may need to limit that time so they can conduct the business on the agenda. By law, the board cannot discuss, consider, or vote on topics that are not on the agenda. This assures the community they are aware of the topics that will be discussed. If you wish to discuss a topic through written communication, board members' contact information can be found on the district website. We appreciate the community's attendance and comments at this meeting, and thank you for coming. So from there, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Camersell, who has this evening's outstanding achievements.
We had over 100 students placing at the Arizona Regional Science and Engineering Fair. So all of those names will be published tomorrow. But the topics or the names of the science projects are really interesting. So I'd like to get into some of those.
Please, I had so much fun reading them.
How many people did you say? How many students?
Over 100.
Oh, okay.
There are 3 classes, at least 3 classes that submitted, and then individual students. So it's very impressive. We have 2 Flynn Scholars this year. Both Seth Rojas and Ruby Ray are 2024 Flynn Scholars. These 2 scholars, with these 2 scholars, we will have graduated 19 Flynn Scholars in our history of the high school. This is the first year that we have had 2 Flynns in a single class. And the record for the most Flynn Scholars in a single year is held by the class of 2009 with 3 of them. We have completed our annual poetry contest. Those 13 winners will be noted in the border tomorrow, along with those 100 plus SARSIF winners for the science fair. There are 2 artist awards. Our high school student Gwendolyn Alviar, she was chosen as one of the 5 winners of the Outstanding Emerging High School Artist Award. Her artwork is currently in the exhibition, Our Stories, High School Artists, at the University of Arizona Museum. And her piece is called Boxed. We will put that in the border tomorrow so you can see what that looks like. And then Orange Grove Middle School student Catherine Coco Wang, she won first place in the Aline Goodman Youth Artist Award competition at the Tucson Festival of Books. It is a linoleum block print titled Jewel of the Crested Cactus. We'll also publish that tomorrow. And finally, our district has been recognized with the Best Communities for Music Education Award, sponsored by the National Association of Music Merchants Foundation. And in that recognition, I quote, We applaud your community's unwavering commitment to creating an environment where each child can learn and grow with music.
Thanks, Mary. And you will list all of the titles of projects from the science fair in the border tomorrow?
Yes, that'll be like the first 3 pages.
It will be. It was so much fun reading.
Yes.
The top of the list is what's that smell? Fixing problems that stink.
That's cute.
I just love those. Thanks, Mary, for that report. Okay, we will move to our public comment section of our meeting this evening, and I'm going to go ahead and start with Adrian Crawford, a district parent, and under topic or agenda, it just says WL. I don't know what that means, so I'll just let you come on up and talk.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay. It's a hard act to follow all of that emotion of the beginning of the meeting. A mentor and I once discussed micro and macro changes, and we considered the course of my life, and macro change is big change, policies and programs in schools, and micro is influencing individual families and students. Neither one is better or worse, they just are. And Dr. Kamerzal, you get to be part of macro change. The decisions that you make and the things that you do affect an entire district. Educators, administrators, employees, students, and families. And as you prepare for retirement, I wanted you to hear about how your decisions trickle down and impact individual families like mine. So first, I'm here as an educator. I'm fortunate enough to be part of the Spanish team at Esperero, and I work alongside incredible people, Mr. Martinez, Ms. Rosenblatt, and Ms. Mares. And you've been an avid supporter of the World Language Department in our school district, and I want to thank you for that. As a person who didn't learn Spanish until high school and college, it's something that I love very much, and it has opened so many doors for me, and so I want to give that to our students. And I just thank you for seeing that value and blessing our families with that. Blanca Mares also asked me to share a few comments. She's grateful for the respect you give each individual in the district, regardless of power or title. You give dignity to each person. She said you visited her classroom often, and she remembers your kindness and encouragement, that you remember employees' names, regardless of position. She sends you warm wishes as you enter retirement. And now as a parent, my husband and I purchased a home in the district in 2017, and at the time, Lily was in kinder and Clayton in second, and Bentley, our oldest, with Down syndrome, was in third. Our kids thrived at Canyon View because it's an amazing school. And one day, I accompanied a friend here to Valley View, and I got to see the magic, and I thought, oh my gosh, I wish my kids could have come to school here. And then during COVID, we took in a 2-year-old with Down syndrome, who we later adopted, and guess who got to experience the magic at Valley View? But Micah, he thrived here in the play-based program. This district is a district for all children.
I cried first. It's okay.
Thank you. And my children have benefited from the award-winning band programs, the dedicated staff members, and the love here. My oldest son has been the catalyst for everything we do. He has shown us the way, which doors to open and which ones to close. When Bentley began high school this year, he decided to do color guard, and I wasn't sure how that would go. And then I saw the band schedule, and I thought, oh no, this is terrible. And it was amazing, and he's done so well, and he's thrived. And Ms. Shane Boyd and Mr. Gerald have been so welcoming and amazing with that program, and I know that that's another program that you support. And so I thank you that you support world languages and music education and the inclusivity of all students.
Adrian, I'm sorry.
So,
I'm going to have
thank you.
to ask you to wrap it. But thank you. I hate to cut you off.
Nice, thanks so much for coming. That's great.
Thank you. We next have Nico Otto Parkinson, another district parent.
There's a card and poster circulating there.
evening. My name is Nico Otto Parkinson. I am a human being, a CFSD resident, thank you, and parent of 2 CFSD students and a member of the Real CFSD Allies for All. Dedication, community, genuine caring. These are the words I want to focus on today as I honor the life and memory of board member Amy Bola and the many years of dedicated service of Superintendent Dr. Mary Kamerzel. Myself and some members of the CFSD 16 community are sending appreciation for Amy Bola and heartfelt sympathy to her family, friends, and fellow board members. The Canchola plant is called the Widower's Thrill, and it is a symbol of persistence and eternal love. From what I know and have learned of Amy Bola, this seems fitting. She was a remarkable woman who had so much grace and courage and was able to persist in love despite the daunting things she was up against. We thank her for her dedication, service, and all she did for our schools and community. We are saddened by the loss, but feeling gratitude and appreciation for knowing her and being able to benefit from all she did and the lasting positive effects she has created. What I want to leave with here today are comments I believe may have been made previously by Dr. Kamerzel, who lamented the changes in tone since years past and noted there was genuine caring and a sense of community and connection. This is the CFSD community that we all want and can continue to cultivate. It is with love and a sense of fierce preservation. It is in a sense of fierce preservation that the farmer meticulously picks out the rotting fruit and discards it so as to preserve the integrity of the harvest. This community is welcome to all students, their family members, staff, community residents, but we reject the outside toxic influences of those that espouse fear and hatred and try to erode our education system and community. We are grateful to those dedicated board members, teachers, staff, students, parents, and community members that contribute to a positive academic environment, an atmosphere of respect and appreciation. With appreciation to Amy Bola and Dr. Kamerzel and all those who contribute to creating a positive community where the core of education is a sense of connection and genuine caring. Thank you.
Thank you.
And this is for her.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Renee Shane Boyd. I don't think she needs to be introduced.
When Dr. Kamerzel announced her retirement, I wanted to take this public opportunity to thank her for a consistent guiding hand and her eye to the future in support of students and teachers of CFSD. I've worked under 4 superintendents for over 40 years, and while the district and Tucson have changed greatly during that time, the positive impact that Dr. Kamerzel has had as a leader of almost 30 of those years can be felt in many areas. There can be no mistaking that the consistency of her leadership from year to year and decade to decade has made it obvious to all who work in the district that there is a clear educational and business plan in place that serves the district well. Her meticulous attention to detail and management becomes even more obvious when you see the results in the district standing in our state and its recognized commitment to excellence. I want to thank her for her foresight to be ahead of the game when the community and political landscape was leading us towards open enrollment at approximately the same time our district community was aging and our enrollment declining. Her strategic work ensured that there was new and continued high-level programming that would obviously encourage parents to enroll students in CFSD. As the district has experienced tremendous physical growth under her leadership, the teachers, as users of those new physical spaces, have been allowed to be actively involved in the planning for those facilities. This type of trust and involvement with the growth of the district inspires loyalty and creates an environment that teachers want to be involved in and support. Having worked at the national level, I can attest that in virtually every association I've had, it's been obvious to me that CFSD is in the front of teacher training, assessment initiatives, technology, and curriculum. And finally, I want to thank Dr. Camrzel for her consistent support of arts programming. I can often sincerely say to parents that Catalina Foothills High School is the best comprehensive high school in the state of Arizona, and that during my entire career, there has never been a cut to the arts programs. All students can be involved in a broad range of exemplary arts experiences, even in a variety of different languages. And as a teacher, it is very gratifying to have the support that is needed to service students. Actually, I wanted to pause since I have 3 minutes and not 2 minutes. I practiced doing this really fast. Do you know how many arts teachers in the country would like to be able to say that they work in a district where the arts have never been cut? That is unheard of. And I thank you so much for that, and you all so much for that. That's really amazing. And as a teacher, it's very gratifying to have the support that's needed to service students while also having the autonomy and encouragement to practice creativity and artistry in our teaching. Thank you for all you've given our district, and I hope you have a happy and fulfilling retirement.
Thank you, Renee. And we have one final speaker tonight. I better double check and make sure there's nobody online. Again, nope, I still see no one. So we will now hear from Ashley Crook, district parent and volunteer extraordinaire, of course.
No, I wasn't planning on speaking, and I'm not going after Renee because she really said it all. I hustled over here from a baseball game. The bus broke down. The boys won. My son hit a home run. Just a normal day in Catfoot. Amy would be very thrilled that we are honoring you. Wow, remembering her. And I came to only offer my sympathy to all of you. I watched you from home. I really like the YouTube channel. But I watched you navigate the last couple years, especially the last several months, with a ton of strength and grace. And more than anything, you stayed steady for Amy, of course, for all of us. And I just wanted to tell you that I talk to a lot of people on a regular basis, at baseball games, at band events, and throughout meetings and such, and that sentiment echoes throughout our district. Even if today I had a really interesting conversation with several parents who are not familiar with our board, and they echoed it in their own ways, which means it just continues to trickle down. So we're all thinking of you. We all recognize through everything from that has been highly mentioned, but Amy's steadfastness, you all exemplify. I often like to say like attracts like is very evident. And I always love to add to that in her work, she and I had a lot of interesting intersections. You know, we both grew up in the Phoenix area and graduated from Scottsdale high schools, and we passionate about public education and always would meet at these public education events, but we also met routinely at Ben's Bells events. Anyone who's ever been to the Bola home has seen the bench outside of their front door. She quietly supported many things, and we had Ben's Bells in common, and we sometimes would have chats with wine, and we would try to focus on the positive things when things were a little harder. So she did many, many things and represented many, many things, as you all do. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Ashley. All right. We'll go ahead and close public comment here. There's still nothing online, so I think we're finished with that item, and we'll move on to item 3 if everyone's ready. Everybody okay?
Good.
Okay.
Let's do this.
Let's go do our consent
Let's do this.
agenda, folks. Does anyone have anything that they wish to discuss or pull from our consent agenda this evening?
Yep. I would like to pull the personnel memo. I'd like to ask Dr. Bartlett to share with us the recruitment process that was undertaken for the new associate superintendent position, and how that led to the final decision.
Okay, and we'll go ahead and take care of the rest of the consent agenda and then circle back to that item, which is item 3.6. Anything else? Do you have anything over there, Doug, that you wanted to talk about or pull on the consent agenda?
Saying no.
I'll make a
I'm trying to look at him over
I know, it's
here,
over
and I
there.
can't see him doing
I have a
this.
trick line of science, so I'll just.
Thank you.
I'll
Okay, so,
translate.
anything, Amy?
I'm done crying, so I think I can do the consent
Okay.
agenda now.
All right.
I probably cried more tonight than I did in the past 2 years. I was born without tear ducts, that's what my husband says. And every once in a while.
How sweet.
I move the governing board approve consent agenda items 3.1, the governing board March 12th, 2024 regular meeting minutes as presented. 3.2, the governing board March 12th, 2024 executive session meeting minutes as presented. 3.3, the expense voucher memorandum as presented. 3.4, the field trip request memorandum as presented. 3.5, the fundraising request memorandum as presented. 3.7, the acceptance with gratitude of the gifts and donations memorandum as presented. And 3.8, the approval of updated estimates for the 2023-2024 cooperative purchasing list as presented.
Okay, we do have a motion. Is there a second on those consent agenda items? We have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. We're going to go back now, circle back to item 3.6, the approval of the personnel memorandum.
So, yes, well, the recruitment of the associate superintendent is very similar to the process I described for all certified positions, but with a few different twists a little bit. It started with a job posting. We posted the position on December 15th and had it open until February 9th. In that time, we had 11 candidates apply. We posted it pretty far spread. We on our CFSD website, but also on Indeed, Handshake, Arizona Department of Education, Arizona Education Employment Board, Department of Economic Security, and the Pima Community College. So we did a widespread search. So there were 11 candidates who completed an electronic application to apply for the jobs. Once they were submitted, I screened them myself for meeting all of the requirements, as we do with all of our positions. There were some applicants that I contacted because their application, when I looked at their certification, it didn't have superintendent certification. So I reached out to them individually, each one that did not have that on there, and inquired as to whether it was pending or had they applied for it or are they eligible for it, and I heard back from all of those. But after reviewing all of the candidates' applications, including their responses to the questions, those are a very important part of the application process, I determined that there were 4 candidates that with all that had district-level prior experience that we wanted to interview. So we set up the interview, and we started the formal interview process. Mary and I were part of were the interview team for the question and answer part of the interview. And we established the set of interview questions, well in advance. The questions that we asked were provided to assess the candidate's experience with human resources, which is a vital role or a vital responsibility, their policy guidance and their policy knowledge, student discipline, and then just their overall problem solving through various scenarios. So that was kind of our questions. After the formal interview, each candidate was given 2 performance tasks as well. So after we took them into a different room and we were given them 2 tasks that were common tasks that I would perform on a daily basis, and they were given an hour to perform those tasks. And then afterwards, I sat with them and they described their thought processes as they were, from the work that they produced, and then they were able to, talk to me about what the task meant and how they would proceed further. Actually, most of them were not able to complete both tasks in that hour, but Dr. Katrina Sacco was, And she actually rose to the top of all 4 candidates in both the interview as well as the performance task.
Why was it important that the task be completed versus understanding the methodology that they were using to undertake the task?
But it wasn't. It wasn't. It was that, but she was able to complete them as well as it was able to talk through the process of it. It wasn't just that they had to complete it.
Okay, thank you for
No,
clarifying that.
it wasn't that they had to complete it. If they didn't, they were given an hour to do it. So then once she rose to the top in both of those areas, I conducted reference checks. I contacted her only 3 supervisors she's had in education. The
Have
superintendent,
some longevity there, huh?
the superintendent of Payson Unified School District, the superintendent of Beaver Creek School District, and her supervising teacher during student teaching. So I talked with her as well. They all had very glowing recommendations of her. They talked about her intelligence, her thoroughness with tasks, her attention to detail. So at that point, I offered the position to Dr. Sacco for various reasons. It was evident that she had done a thorough job of researching the district. She was one of the only candidates who was well-versed in our strategic plan and expressed her commitment to our mission, vision, our shared goals, and our shared values and our goals. Dr. Sacco responded to all the questions with a very student-centered approach. She's committed to the education of all students and helping all students meet and exceed targeted student outcomes and to reach their full potential. She also demonstrated her commitment to developing relationships with current staff, families, and community. She indicated her strength as being a good listener and being able to understand various perspectives. And those skills were also confirmed by her supervisors that I contacted. And Dr. Sacco also demonstrated a sound decision-making process, which she uses in her professional life. She demonstrated her ability to break down a problem and create a plan for how to address it fairly and efficiently, which is an important skill in this position.
Denise, can I stop you there just for one moment? Because we understand that Doug is not able to hear us, and I don't know if you guys have been, and I don't want much more of the meeting to go on without him being able to hear. You're okay now? You're okay now? Okay, great. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Thank you.
She also demonstrated a deep understanding of using governing board policies to drive her decisions. While she's a flexible and creative thinker, she demonstrated her ability to use the policies to guide her in making important decisions regarding staff and students. She also performed well on each of the performance tasks. She understood each of the tasks and worked well through them accurately and efficiently. She was able to succinctly explain the thought process she used for each task and how she came to those solutions. And finally, Dr. Sacco demonstrated a calm demeanor. She indicated that she enjoys working with others to accomplish goals. We both agree that she has the personality, work ethic, and commitment to do the work of the Associate Superintendent in the Catalina Foothills School District. She'll be a great asset to the district. I look forward to working directly with her and mentoring her as she joins the Catalina Foothills administrative team. So tonight I'm recommending her hire. Tomorrow, if you approve her hire, the onboarding process will begin, and she is set to take the reins on July 1st of 2024.
Thank you for going through that. I trust all of the standard background checks were done as well. You didn't touch on that, but I assume those were all done?
Yes, those are the standard reference checks that I checked with.
Not only reference checks, but security clearance, fingerprint, that type of
Yes,
thing.
of course, yes, those are all, that's part of the onboarding and
Think we do anything
after
without
recommendation for hire.
Exactly.
Going
Yeah,
through those
I think it's
processes.
good to call that out as well.
Yes,
Speaking of a work ethic, she has assumed a second full-time position with Payson because their special ed director, for whatever reason I don't recall, left the district. So she's not only the curriculum and assessment person, she's also the special ed
Wow.
person. So she really has stepped up. Not so easy. Yeah, she was very impressive.
I think
And
it's,
Denise and I don't always agree, you know, on everything. But on this, it was clear.
it was clear. She rose to the top of the 4 candidates that we interviewed.
it's great that we have somebody that you're so excited about.
I'm very excited.
So I have another question.
Yeah.
I appreciate she rose to the top of 4 candidates, and I hear you loud and clear in that regard. However, that doesn't mean that she's the right candidate. It means she's, of the 4 that you had, she's the best candidate. So, can you comment on whether you feel, irrespective of the number of candidates, you feel she is the right candidate for this position?
Yes, for the reasons that I outlined, the way she answered the questions, the questions that we answered without going into detail really got at the tasks of the associate superintendent. And she was able to thoughtfully respond to each of those in a very student-centered way, which is what we're looking for. We're looking for that student-centered approach, and break down the scenarios into what she would do first or second or third, and how she would involve the principals and work with the principals. So yes, for those reasons, I do feel she's the right person.
Great. Anything else, folks? Thank you, Denise, I appreciate that. Do we have a motion on the personnel agenda?
Sure. I move that the governing board approve the personnel memorandum as presented.
We have a motion and a second on the personnel memorandum. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to unfinished business from several weeks ago with item 4.1, approval of revisions to policy JFABDA, admission of students in foster care. This is a second reading and action item. Back to Denise Bartlett.
Yes, thank you. So ARS 8-5300.04 states that an educational institution has 2 days in which to enroll a foster child when a change of placement is needed. So we reviewed this policy on March 12th, and after that, there was only one additional change. We added the definition of the word legal in before guardian in 2 different places. The other items that were presented at the first reading have not changed, and that includes the statement, if the determination is made that it is not in the child's best interest to remain in the school of origin, the educational institution shall enroll the child in a new school within 2 days, and a child shall be immediately enrolled in the new school, even if the child is unable to produce records normally required for enrollment. However, the student may be required to provide their notice to providers document. And so we've added that language, and then added the language within 2 days to the policy to meet that statutory requirement.
I just want to call out that it's written correctly in the policy itself, but it's incorrect in the cover memorandum. So just for the purposes of the board minutes, just to make sure that we're pulling from the right place. So in the memorandum, Dr. Bartlett, paragraph B, it says if a determination is made that it is not in child's best interest. However, it is correct in the actual policy itself. So just calling that out.
Thank you.
Any other comments on the changes to this policy?
No, that was a very nitpicky change, but make sure that it's accurate to this policy.
Gotcha. Okay. Is there a motion?
Give me just a second. I move that the governing board approve the revisions to policy JFABDA, admission of students in foster care as presented.
Have a motion, is there a second?
Second?
A motion and a second, all those in favor?
Right.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0, thank you. We'll move right on to item 4.2, which is approval of revisions to policy JH, student absences and excuses. Again, a second reading and action item. Dr. Bartlett.
Yes, after the first reading on March 12th of this policy, there were a few recommended revisions. In the second paragraph, reported to was changed to notify. In the third paragraph, call was changed to contact. And in the fourth paragraph, either at home or at work was struck as irrelevant. And then we added legal or legal guardians in 6 places in this policy as well, so that we could remain consistent. The change that No, that's not in this policy. So there was a question about the attendance lines. We did a poll of all the different attendance messages, and all the elementaries now have been revised to state the same information, and the middle schools both have the same, and then the high school has their own, which is a little expanded. So those have already been changed and have been re-recorded by Mr. Coulter. So it's reflecting of our discussion based on the change in the recording. You're welcome.
And again, really the only substantive change of this policy is adding the
Mental or behavioral
mental
health.
behavioral health to the list of reasons for an excused absence
Correct.
from school. Okay.
Correct.
All right.
So a motion.
Sure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on this policy JH. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. And then item 4.3, approval of revisions to policy JHD, exclusions and exemptions from school attendance. A second reading. Back to you, Dr. Bartlett.
Yes, so this policy was revised to provide clarity and to add mental or behavioral health to the examples of health, of a health professional. The specific language changed the fields of medicine to specific categories of health professionals who may identify a student as requiring an exclusion or exemption from school. And after the first reading on March 12th, the board recommended adding therapists to the list of certified medical or behavioral health professionals. That now includes physician, podiatrist, chiropractor, naturopathic doctor, osteopathist, psychologist, therapist, physician assistant, or registered nurse practitioner. So that language has been added, but adding that to the list needed to include then the legal reference. So 32-3251 was added to the reference list of professionals and occupations in the Arizona Revised Statutes that govern behavioral health professionals. And then, of course, we added legal to guardian in 3 different places, and we changed the date of the approval of the adoption.
Thanks for running that down. A little more complicated than we expected than just to add a word, right?
Yes. Yes.
It's an important word, though, so
Yes.
thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Right?
You ready for a motion?
Sure.
I move the governing board approve the revisions to policy JHD, exclusions and exemptions from school attendance as presented.
We have a motion and a second on policy JHD. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. All right, we are going to move on to the pretty meaty part of the meeting, our discussion and reports, item 5.1, which is the presentation by Dr. Camerzell of the fiscal year 2025 maintenance and operations budget proposal. And this is the first time we're seeing the budget proposal in our board meeting this year.
Yes, and as you know, based on your experience, this kicks off now about 3 months of discussion about budget as we wait for the legislature to do its business, which probably means, like usual, they will have a budget. They have to legally have one by July 1st, which probably means June 30th. We will know. So our approach always is a conservative one, making assumptions that we're pretty sure the legislature can't change. Nothing's an absolute given, but that's pretty much our approach going into this. So the new significant expenses that we are recommending have all to do with employee compensation. And you know from our retention surveys that it is a really important consideration. It's actually number 1. Second is professional peer relationships, but compensation matters a great deal. Not only bringing people in as new hires, but also retaining the great employees that we already have. So on the revenue side, and we'll get into the straw budget tonight if you want to get into the weeds, but on the revenue side, to speak more in summary, our first assumption is that we are going to use our current ADM. We don't embellish it. We use what actually exists at the moment. And sometimes as we move through the next 3 months, we change the ADM because we've learned from the state that the ADM has been revised. And that happens all the way into July, actually. So actual enrollment is always higher than ADM. So as a reminder, ADM means the average enrollment of fractional students and full-time students through the first 100 days of the calendar minus withdrawals. So I've given you some examples. If a student enrolls the first day of the school year, that's 100 days out of 100. That's a 1.0 ADM. If a student enrolls 5 days after the start of the school year, that's 95 of the 100, therefore 0.95 ADM. If a kindergarten student participates in a half-day program, they are 0.5 ADM. And that fluctuates through the first 100 days. Our second assumption is that our basic state funding is going to increase by 2%. This is a legally required increase. Actually, the legislature is required to increase our funding each year by the inflation rate or 2%, whichever is less. And it's pretty much a given, even though we don't have a full calendar year, that the inflation rate is going to be higher than 2%. So we've factored in a 2% bump. Then our third assumption is that we transfer $1.5 million approximately dollars from district additional assistance to M&O. We need those dollars to help pay for the compensation proposal that I'm going to be outlining for you. Just as a reminder, in this current fiscal year, the legislature approved a $300 million one-time increase to K-12. Our allocation of that amount was $1.386 million. Because it's designated as one-time money, we moved it to capital. And it supplements bond funds to pay for our security projects across the district. What we are proposing is that we do a reverse transfer, not that money, which is one time, but other capital funds that we can spend in M&O, again, to help with our compensation proposal. And those are not one-time expenditures.
What is our DAA allocation each year, roughly?
$3 million.
$3 million. Thank you.
Okay, so as a reminder, this is where we're going to balance the budget. So each time you see a straw budget over the next 3 months, if there are adjustments up or down, then you're going to see this number change when we get into that straw budget on the revenue page. That transfer dollar amount, this is what it looks like now, but it's going to probably change over time. And then there's a note here about classroom site fund. We always put it on the revenue page. It's not M&O money, but we use it always in part for teacher compensation. So we've included it and we continue to include it. The per pupil amount is going to increase from what is this year $758 to $792. So you're going to see in the straw budget that we want to use a little over $1 million out of the classroom site fund, along with that $1.5 million out of capital, the aggregate paying for all of our compensation proposal. So let's get into the expenditure assumptions. We're not going to change any student programs or services. Nothing is being cut. And this has been a commitment for several years, and we think we can still do this. Our second assumption, which is the large one, is to fund a salary wage increase for all of our employees and to also bump up the district contribution for medical insurance premiums. So our current salary schedule for certified teachers for a teacher who's coming in with no experience first year, this year it's $50,000. We're proposing it go to $53,000 next year. So returning teachers will receive an increase of somewhere between 3910 and 3926. I mean, if Dr. Bartlett wants to get into this, we can.
It's okay.
We're moving to, we want to make sure we have in our step increments $910, basically. And there was a little glitch from this year, and we're just fixing it. So this is a 3.53% to 5.89% increase, depending on the teacher's placement on the salary schedule, but equal dollars for returning teachers. Then we propose a 5% increase to the hourly wages for classified or support personnel. And that means our minimum wage will increase to $15.63. And that's for an individual without experience who starts on step one. And it's a small group. Many, vast majority of our classified staff are making more than that hourly rate. And then we recommend adding 5% to the wage pool for classified exempt and 5% to a salary pool for administrators. And as a reminder, we distribute those dollars based on performance and also keep track of, as best we can, comparability in the county as far as those positions. The current distribution for medical insurance from the district is $5,458 for an eligible full-time employee. And we are recommending that we add a $626 amount to that contribution to take it up to $6,084. Because what we want to accomplish is to have that contribution cover at least two of the premium costs of our two of the plans of our four. And our insurance rates are going up 11.7% next year. So if we move it to $6,084, then we will still be able to do the same four medical plans that we've had for a few years. And the other two plans, there is an employee contribution if that's the plan that someone picks.
Just to be clear though, we still contribute the $6,084. They would contribute the delta between.
Oh, yes. Yeah, the $6,084 to everyone who's full-time eligible, regardless of the plan. So one of the plans, there are dollars to be saved, so to speak.
Yep.
So you see on the written proposal here that the aggregate of all of these costs that are new to be $2.426 million. And then, as you know, the third assumption, there are going to be numerous miscellaneous expenditure adjustments. In fact, in that straw budget, you see all the deletions and additions, and we can get into all of those at some point. But we have contractual commitments for outsourced services like transportation, food service, custodial, and groundskeeping. And then, of course, there are adjustments every year to utilities, our property and liability insurances, our technology subscriptions, and the list goes on. Attached here, like you have seen before, is a comparison between this year's adopted budget, and these are the large categories of M&O, revenues and expenditures, and then projected for next year, which is based on the straw budget that is also attached. So with that, we can talk about any of this in detail, either now, come back to it after you've addressed the new agenda items, new business items, or whatever you prefer.
So Mary, I'm looking at page 4 of your memo, and it says the total of the administrative recommendations is 2.426. But when I look at the total for the administrative proposal, I'm probably just looking at it wrong. It's a different number.
Yes, because there are a couple of items there that are not included. So it goes all the way through N. You're on line 60, correct?
I'm actually just on this little one-sheeter that you attached to your memo.
Budget at a glance.
Budget at a glance.
Yes.
And so I'm at the very last line where it says total for administrative proposal is 2.146 as opposed to the memo that's 2.426.
Yeah, so if you don't mind going to the straw budget,
Okay.
you know, the spreadsheet? Yep. And it's page 5, line 60, which is where the administrative budget proposal starts.
Mm-hmm.
It's the last two items, O and P, instructional support specialist salaries. We are moving those and benefits.
That's the difference, got
Yeah.
it.
So if you were to stop with line N, you would get to the number that's
Gotcha.
in the, on page 4, or on whatever page you were talking about.
Thank you.
We have been paying instructional support specialist salaries with foundation funding. What else? I don't remember what else. Supplementing with M&O.
Yes.
And I just think because of the salary increases that were being proposed, et cetera, we need to tap more M&O money to pay for these salaries.
Got it, thank you.
I know we've discussed this before, but you're comfortable in the ability to sustain those funds?
Well, to the extent that, we rub our crystal ball.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, let me put it this way. Classroom site fund is based on sales tax receipts. The legislature can't do anything about that. DAA, I suppose we could go back to the day when, they just gutted it back in 2008, the Great Recession, but it's been full formula for some time. And it's hard to imagine that we're gonna go back to that place where we don't have that 3 million coming in.
Can you talk about the health of the DAA fund? I know we get about 3 million every year. We're gonna take about half of that and put it into M&O. But is there carryover from prior years, or has that all, where is that? Where does that fund
Well, we
rest
have-
in terms of balances?
Yeah, we right now have a $2.4 million balance.
Okay.
It's
And
hard
the
to
3 will go
imagine
in.
that'll roll over, and it won't be that entire 2.4 added to the 3 million, which is almost 5.5 million.
Right.
Because we still have a couple more months and some expenditures that are sizey, but I don't see spending more than that 400,000. In other words, I think we'll
Right.
have a
So
carry
we'll have
forward
5
of about
million.
2 million, and that is an aggregate of $5 million.
Okay. And then we're taking the 1.5
Right.
fund M&O, so we still have a healthy balance in
3.5
there.
million. Now, you've talked about this often, how appreciative we are to our community for passing bonds.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Without that,
Overrides.
yeah.
We would be in a very different place. I mean, I've been in superintendent meetings lately where it's clear a couple of districts will probably move M&O funds to DAA because they don't have the ability to underwrite capital expenditures, and they have facilities that are degrading that they need to pay attention to. So that, it's context of a community that supports the elections is really critical.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's up to you.
Mary's out here.
Mary's out. No.
Well, we just had one.
We have issued one, we've had one issuance, and that's what we're spending now. The whole bond, it's $38.5 million over time. So the first issuance was last spring. The second issuance will happen next spring, 2005, anticipated 8.5 million, but it'll depend on our assessed valuation and so forth. But we, at least initially, thought four issuances that take us through 2027. So closer to 2027, the new administration and the board will decide whether you want to go out again and request another bond, or when, if so. And then, of course, we have the overrides, both M&O and capital. The capital override is good for 7 years, never phases out. So
Right.
we're into year 1, 6 more. And then the M&O override, which brings in over 4 million every year, it's on the straw budget, starts to phase out in the 6th and 7th years. So really, we think of it as having a 5-year life before we go back to the community.
The capital override's what, a couple million a year?
2 million, you're
2
correct.
million a year, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So I guess the answer to your question is probably 5 years from now at the earliest, maybe?
Yeah, so an election year would be either 2026 or 2028, whatever the election year
About that
is.
The election years are even, so.
Evens, yeah, so
Yeah.
26
So I
or
would
28.
see an M&O override in 26, so that
Yeah.
it doesn't, we don't
We don't
move
expire.
into the 6th or
Yes.
7th
Yeah.
year.
Okay, thank you.
I'm looking looking at just commenting on the 5% increase to classified and support staff, and we've done a lot of work over the last several budget iterations to really beef up those wages in response to minimum wage increases, but also in response to the competition
Yes, over the last
that
2
we
years.
have to
Yeah,
find these people to fill these positions, and I'm wondering how that.
14% increase, and 1 year it was 8%.
This 5% will be a 31% increase over 4 years.
Over 4 years. And is that helping us? I know that there's some sticky positions that are difficult no matter what we pay for them, but is it helping us get out there and find candidates now?
We're very competitive. We're usually in the top 2 or 3 of the districts that are reporting when we do a comparability. We're usually in the top 2 or 3, or sometimes
What do you mean
the
the top
first.
2 or 3?
When we ask for what they're paying for certain classifications of employees in the classified, they will give us their range. We're usually in the top 1 or 2 of those.
I think though Eileen was asking how is it affecting recruitment and retention?
Correct,
of the
and that's
staff.
what's helping us,
That's what's
because
helping us.
the surrounding districts are not as competitive as we are. So
Okay, sorry, so let me ask a follow-up question then. What are our retention figures like for classified staff? Do you happen to
we don't have that. We've just finished the retention survey for classified staff.
That's
This is
right.
the first year
That's
that
right.
we've done that.
Yeah,
So we haven't
We'll get it.
reviewed those yet. We
Yeah,
just
we'll
finished
find
it.
out if the wage matters.
Right.
Like we
I
know-
can't imagine that
like
it
we know in
doesn't.
certified, the salaries matter a lot.
I think it'd be helpful to look at our classified staff in terms of retention figures over the last 5 years to see what the percentages are, because we can pull that data, presumably, and,
Yeah, we've talked about it. That's a
Overlay.
real,
It's
It's
a
a
moving
real
target because it's in and out.
appreciate that,
It's
but it's data,
very-
so we have that. And to overlay salary increases to see if it is, if our retention figures are, I'm standing at X percent and not changing much off of X, then the question is, is to what extent are salary increases affecting that? If retention figures are declining from X to Y percent, we could draw some potentially positive.
yeah, no
conclusions from
question.
that.
We've done that with certified.
Right.
We've talked about this, whether we can really tackle this and get it done. But, stay tuned.
And I mean, I'm just obviously foraging right ahead and asking questions about this before we go to the new business.
No,
But
go ahead.
I was looking at, just the straw budget.
Which page?
Just the cover page of the straw budget.
The revenue.
Yeah, the revenue page, sorry. And, I see, obviously, where's the 2% reflected? The 2% inflationary increase, where is that reflected on here?
Okay, I'll read it. Is it, it's
It's
complicated.
complicated, so I'm not just
It's
stupid?
complicated, and when I read it to you, it probably will make no sense.
Okay, I'll try.
Like, we use the district support level instead of the revenue control limit. So that is something that's not even here. From the fiscal year 24 December budget revision. So if you want the numbers, I'll get them from Lisa. The revised amount is $1,330,300. It's an increase of $13,658 from the previous amount under fiscal year 25. So, if you want to know exactly what the numerical equivalents, I'll get it from her. But it's not here.
It's not
I mean,
here.
it's
The 2%
buried.
doesn't, it's buried in
I mean,
one
you
of these
can't-
numbers here.
Yeah, you can't take 2% of number 1 here, or you can't take 2%
That's what I was
of
trying
the
to do and not
combination
seeing
of 1
it.
and 2
Okay.
and come up with the 2%.
Okay, gotcha.
It's $1,330,300.
Mary, were you anticipating that question?
Yes, actually.
1,330,000 is about the 2%?
The 2% is $1,330,300.
Yeah, I don't know why I expect to see it on here, but we don't, so. I see our transportation support revenue is not going up at all.
No, and it costs double that to do our system. I mean, if we go back, and you do this every year, I know, Eileen.
Yeah.
But if you go back and take a look at transportation and what we pay for fuel, which is line 57 and everything below it, what we pay for fuel, what we pay for our contract with First Student, and the maintenance of our buses, and frankly, the M&O cost of our 2 mechanics is not in here. This is $2 million something. So it's almost double the cost to do the system versus what we take in specifically for
State
that.
for it. And then other challenges that are coming up is that 123, Prop 123 is only a couple more years, yes?
Yes,
2026, I want to say?
I've forgotten. I think it might be 25.
25 is
25
what
Yeah,
even.
I think we might just have another year.
Yes.
Other questions that folks have on the straw budget?
No, one for me.
Doug, how you doing on the straw budget? All right, well, this is certainly something we're going to continue to see
Yes.
at every board meeting. Anybody out in the audience, our budget wonks, come back. Come back for more. All right, then we'll go ahead and move on to item 6, which is our new business. 6.1 is the approval of professional salary schedule for 2024-2025. This is an action item. Dr. Bartlett.
Yes, so attached is the salary schedule that we're proposing. And it has been revised so that the starting salary will be $53,000. And increments between each step is $910 going forward. So we're recommending a vertical step movement for all certified employees on the proposed schedule, resulting in an increased M&O cost of $373. This adjustment to the salary schedule, in addition to providing a vertical step movement, will result in a $3,910 to a $3,926 increase in compensation per certified employee, and that's a 3.53 to 5.89% increase, depending on where you are on that salary schedule. It's also recommended that we change the wording at the bottom of the proposed salary schedule for National Board Certified Teaching certificates. Currently, the $1,000 addendum is received if a teacher's NBC matches the content of the primary professional assignment. This certification requires a recipient to undergo rigorous analysis of their teaching pedagogy, and all the certificates are in the field of education. So we're recommending that we remove the language that it has to match their professional teaching assignment, so that if you are a nationally board certified teacher, you're going to get this regardless. And we have 2 new nationally board certified teachers this year.
Great.
So yes, so we're recommending that change, and it will just increase that eligibility for staff or nationally board certified.
You have a feel for how many people are going to benefit from this change?
No, just the 2.
Just the 2 new
Because
ones?
we haven't had, we've only had, well, 3, I guess. We've only had 1 person where their national board certification does not match their primary teaching.
Okay.
But it was brought to our attention, and so we looked at that, and we wanted to make that change.
I think that's a great change.
So we're recommending that vertical step movement for each certified teacher. Revised salary schedule.
Always a pleasure to be able to see the potential for increasing salaries and benefits. And especially, as you noted earlier, Mary, that what we have heard consistently over the years since we've been conducting the retention survey is that our teachers and staff feel that their compensation reflects their value. So this has been a priority for a long time of the board and by the administration, and it's great that we've just been on this upward trajectory for a long time, especially after that standstill for several years.
As
It's been a long time that we've been increasing.
Yeah, as I've presented the retention survey, we talked about the increases, and over the last 3 years, our certified staff have gotten about a $10,000 raise. And then if you include the retention bonus that was offered, it's over $10,000. So it's been a very nice increase from the years when they were given $500 or $1,000 increment. It's a huge
Or
improvement.
the 3 years will be froze everybody.
Froze everybody.
Yes,
Yeah.
so
Although-
they have been appreciative.
We'd love to put another 10,000 in.
course.
per person.
Sure.
But we have to have some help from the legislature on that one.
Wouldn't that be something?
All
This is a
right.
first reading, but it's an action item.
Yes.
Whoever made the motion for well, never mind.
Who can remember? Go for it, Amy.
I move that the governing board approve the proposed professional salary schedule as presented and a vertical step movement for all certified employees on the proposed professional salary schedule as presented.
We have a motion. Is there a second? A motion and a second. All those in favor of the approval of the professional salary schedule for 2024-25? Opposed? I'm sorry, Doug, I keep cutting off your eyes, sorry. But I'm hearing you, I am hearing you. So motion carries 4-0. Item 6.2, this is a fun meeting from that perspective of all these fun items. Item 6.2 is the approval of district contribution to the cafeteria plan of employee benefits. Again, an action item for this evening, Dr. Bartlett.
Yeah, so I'll go through this pretty thoroughly because there have been some minor changes, but not sweeping changes. But this is the plan year that begins on July 1 and ends on June 30th. So July 1 of 2024 to June 30th of 2025. So we're recommending that we remain with ASBATE as our medical provider. It is an 11.68 or 11.7% increase, yes, but there's no provider disruption. We also get that $15,000 rewards towards our wellness program, which we use. So we recommend continuing with them. Active employees will continue to be offered one of 4 benefit plans, as we mentioned earlier. It's recommended that we increase that contribution to our medical plans by $626 per eligible employee. The district contribution would move to $6,084 per employee, which, you know, they don't always consider that their compensation, but that is a very big part of compensation, as we know. So we're working to, you know, make that known to people that that is a big part of that compensation.
A question before you go into them.
Sure.
Just based on the numbers. So these numbers are for each 1.0.
1.0.
And then
it's
there's a
prorated.
prorated down to, as long as they work.
0.75.
Yeah.
Those employees working less than 0.75 are offered dental and vision.
We pay for both.
We pay for both of those, for their full family. So, so two of this $6,084 will fully cover 2 plans. The other 2 plans will require an employee contribution. But there's also a plan for retirees, which is fully funded by the retiree as well.
Do we have a lot of retirees on that plan?
It's funny that you ask. Before we moved to ASBATE, our last employee moved off of the retiree insurance because it was astronomically expensive. But when we moved to ASBATE, it's a very reasonable retiree plan, and so we've had 4 people come on.
And is this retirees who are under Medicare age, or is it like a Medicare supplement plan that it's being offered? I don't know.
We don't
You're not
know.
retired yet.
We don't know.
Only for a second.
I doubt that it's a supplement.
It's not a supplement, so it's actually just a plan for retirees to opt
Major
into.
medical.
Gotcha.
We usually say that this is their primary plan. I mean, this
Yes.
isn't, so if they're on a spouse's plan, this is still their primary plan.
Okay.
So, we are still continuing to offer the high deductible health plan that pairs with the health savings account. So the IRS has changed the requirements. You can no longer offer a $1,500 high deductible plan. The minimum is now $1,600. So ours is now a $1,600 high deductible plan that we will offer. Therefore, all of the medical and prescription drugs are paid up front until that $1,600 deductible, if they're in the Banner network, or the $2,150 in-network are met. So out-of-pocket maximum on this plan is still $4,500. And additionally, the cost to cover dependents is less on this plan. So we've actually increased our enrollment in this plan. We have a really pretty even spread on all of our plans right now, but we can see as the cost of the employee contribution plans are increasing, people are moving off of those plans because it's just not feasible to continue with them. Again, it has a health savings account, which will cost $0 for the employee. So the difference between our contribution and the cost of the plan is that $1,158 annually that was contributed to the employee's health savings account, which equates to $57.90 a paycheck for 20 pays. But that's important. It's really an important thing for the employees to remember that, if they're just starting in the plan, they have to build up that account. It doesn't, it's not always available right away. They have to build that plan up. There's that maximum contribution that they're aware of, which is $4,150 if they're enrolled as employee only, and that $1,000 catch-up if for those that are 55 and older. Unused funds roll over year to year, and these are the employees' funds. So if they leave the districts, they take those dollars with them. So that's a big benefit to them as well. And it's it's before taxes. Pre-tax dollars. Yes, it's pre-tax dollars, so it's a savings. The second plan is the Value Gold plan. It's fully funded through the district contribution. It's recommended that this remain an option. The plan will have a $600 deductible or a $750 deductible if they're using the Aetna network. So they have two different networks that we use, so there's two different costs. If you stay in the Banner network, it's a lower cost. If you go out to the Aetna network, it's a little bit higher cost. It has a yearly cost of $6,084, so our contribution fully covers that. The Classic Gold plan, the yearly rate is $6,768, so we're recommending continuing this plan. The employee would contribute $684, the cost of this plan. And then the Copay Gold plan is another option, only for existing members of this plan. No new members can elect this plan, but it does have a $0 deductible, but the cost of the plan is $7,344. So the employee will contribute $1,260 if it's just for them, or much more if it's for their family.
Still a really good rate for a $0 deductible plan. I mean, that's crazy. I know what we pay for it.
Yeah. So the charts below give you those rates for each of the plans. The employee only is first, and then if they're adding a spouse, their children, their family, and then the percent change. So you can see that each of them has that 11.7% or 11.68% increase.
And these are now the monthly rates. We've switched from talking about the annual rate to a monthly rate, right? Here?
Yes, this is a monthly rate. You're correct. And then the retiree plan, as I said, is the Value Gold plan. And it only had a 5% increase this year, which is really good. I mean, it is a little higher cost, but it's still a nice increase, a small increase for a nice plan for our retirees. So we have had more people who are retiring elect this plan. So there has been an increase. But their monthly plans, their monthly rate has gone from $499 to $524. Pretty nominal. Our employee assistance program is no cost to the district because we have the ASBATE medical plan. If you remember, we used to have a separate employee assistance plan that we paid for, and we paid per employee. But because ASBATE is all included in there, what they offer, which saves the district $7,361 annually. And we have this rate as guaranteed through June of 2025.
So this is what we used to pay for it when we had a separate provider.
Yes, yes. We have two dental plans that we offer, the Employee Dental Services, or EDS Dental. Those are all going to remain the same costs, and we have that guaranteed through June of 2025. So you can see that there's no increase there. Our second plan is the Delta Dental Plan. Those rates have also stayed the same, and those are guaranteed until June 30, 2025. And they offer a 4-tier pricing structure. It's just a little bit more coverage than you get. You know, EDS services, you pay for each service. So they're two different plans, but we have members on both of them. The Vision is a Visus, and we changed to a Visus last year, if you remember, because of the wider network of providers that included Walmart and Costco. So the rates have stayed the same, and it's guaranteed till June of 2028. So it's a really good. I've used the expanded list of providers, and it was a great experience. And we've heard great things. We've had an increase in the number of people who have actually signed up for vision insurance because of the expanded.
I use it too, and it's very definitely worth it.
Yeah, it's very worth it.
Just get one set of glasses, and you've more than paid for your premium. I mean, it's slam dunk. And
now you get glasses every year.
Right. It used to be every 2 years, if I remember.
Every 2 years. So it's
that's
a very
a good plan.
So it's recommended that we continue basic and voluntary employee dependent life insurance with Minnesota Life. The rates did decrease last year by 4.12%, but our rates are guaranteed through June of 2026. Basic life insurance guarantee amount is at $50,000 per employee, and that's not based on their FTE, it's just per employee. The voluntary life insurance guarantees issues amount stayed at the current level of $250,000 for employees and $50,000 for spouses and $10,000 for children. They do not have any age reduction schedules in place for our employees, which is beneficial to them. So our rates are there for life at 75 cents, 18 cents, 93 cents. But this, our estimated cost is $31,948 for that. Our voluntary short-term disability, we're recommending coverage with Madison National Life. There's no rate increase, and rates are guaranteed for June 30th of 2026. And this is fully funded by the employee. This is an election that they can make. And then last year we changed to Pet Care with MetLife, which is an actual pet insurance. Before, what we had was just kind of a reduced rate for services at veterinaries. This is actually pet insurance. So they have different levels that they can choose depending on how many pets they have and the breeds and things like that. So it's handled. No one in our human resources or benefits handle any of this. This is all an outside provider. We don't have anything to do with really just except offering it.
I assume there's still a provider list, though.
Yes, there is. There is a provider list.
These are the costs here for pet care monthly, or
It's monthly, yes.
I'm sure it doesn't have a
Oh, I'm sorry.
period on it. No, it's
Yes,
fine.
it's monthly. Then our COBRA is with ASBATE, and so there is no administration cost to the district because we're enrolled in ASBATE. And again, this savings, it saves us $2,352 annually to the district, and we have this guaranteed through June of 2024. Our flex spending account, this has a lifetime guarantee on this price, which is, I know. We switched to ASI Flex, I believe, last year. And this is that we had a reduced per participant per month fee, and it was guaranteed for life. And we've been, initially, I think all of the flexible spending accounts are changing in the documentation necessary. So every time you use your flexible spending account now, you have to kind of provide the documentation for that purchase, even if it says the doctor's office right on the top. And yeah. So, but we've learned that every flexible spending account provider is doing that same thing. So we've worked through it. Our employees who are using it have worked through it and are providing the necessary documentation.
I'm assuming the employee shoulders the $280 per month. They pay that cost. Or do we
No,
pay that cost for them?
cost.
Oh, we do, okay.
We pay that cost.
It's an administrative cost,
So
okay, gotcha.
you're outsourcing
Right.
the administration of
Right.
these flexible
Correct.
spending. That's
I
all.
got you, thank you.
We still don't have a huge population that uses the flexible spending, so it's a small group.
The use it or lose it thing always scares people.
Yes, it does.
Like the high deductible health plan with
That
FSA.
rolls, yeah.
Yeah,
But
the
FSA has to
Right.
be used or gone.
Yep.
And then finally, we have the tax shelter annuity through TSA. It's our consulting group for tax shelter annuities. They provide the administrative and record-keeping services for participants contributing to a 403B and a 403B Roth account. There's no administrative cost to the district, and all costs are paid by the participant. So this is our cafeteria plan that they can pick and choose the services or the coverages that they'd like.
And I don't remember if you covered this, but the folks that have money left over from the district contribution to the cafeteria plan after they get their health insurance can use that money to purchase their dental or their eye coverage, yes?
Well, because the only plan that has
There's
additional
only
money
one, you're right,
is
yeah.
the high deductible, it all goes into their health savings.
Okay, so good. And they can't pay premiums with that.
No.
So you're right, you're right. And you've told me this before and I've forgotten, thank you.
You're correct. You're welcome.
Also available to board members.
Yes, yes, for life.
Really? That part I didn't know. You probably told me that too and I forgot.
Yes.
Well, it seems like a very, yes, you know, you have to hear something 3 or 4 times and then it finally sinks in. There you go. So, very, very comprehensive package of health and insurance benefits that we offer our employees. Folks, do we have questions for Denise on this? Doug, how you doing? Okay, let's see if everybody has questions first, and then we'll let you do that.
Sorry, Doug. Dr. Bartlett, thank you for the fantastic,
You're welcome.
thorough summary. I want to go back to close to the beginning. You mentioned that ASBATE, one of the benefits of staying with them is they put $15K toward a wellness plan. And if I heard you correctly, you said we use that.
We do.
Are you able to elaborate a little bit on
Well, we've
how we use that?
we've used it different ways. We offer wellness initiatives and with prizes for our employees so that they're maintaining their wellness. We have provided yoga and Zumba classes for our employees. It's all about keeping them safe. We've also bought prizes with them. We've bought notebooks. We've bought some mugs for them that we hand out to our new hires. So we've spent it many different ways. But most recently, we purchased items for swag, basically. But we have used it for Zumba and yoga and paying the instructors, and so that the employees pay nothing for that. And then our Wellness Wednesdays, of course, prizes come out of that as well.
So, sorry, the prizes thing has surprised me. Prizes for what? Sorry, I'm not tracking.
Prizes for participating in the Wellness Wednesday challenges. There's a challenge with it. Participating in a wellness program. You know, we're wanting to get people involved so that
it's linked to the wellness program.
yeah, so that our medical benefit, our medical premiums go down, right? If you're taking care of your health, then it impacts your health coverage.
Gotcha. I was missing the link between prizes and wellness.
Yeah, you
Sorry.
know, incentives. I guess I should say incentives.
Yeah.
And that is a great extra benefit with ASBATE, but I also never want to discount the lack of disruption of providers to our employees. You know, it's one thing to chase a rate by going to another group insurance program, but when in some cases, you end up forcing employees to leave a relationship with a doctor because that doctor is now no longer on a network. So I think that that's probably very appreciated by our employees who are in ongoing treatment or just have a relationship with a doctor. So
Well,
I know 11%'s a lot, but
Especially with the difficulty it is in obtaining new doctors
Oh, I know.
in Tucson. It's the
Yeah.
wait is immense.
waits a long time.
So I
So,
think that is very
I think
appreciated.
that that's always something that we need to take into account when we're looking at some of these rate increases, that, you know, it might be easy to chase a cheaper rate, but that's a huge impact on our users.
Can I follow up with something very quick? So on the, we're required by law on our website to list employee compensation.
Yes.
Average salary.
Does it include this perk?
Yeah, you know, our total compensation.
Our total compensation?
I'd have to look.
That's not required, it's the salary you're
Yes.
saying, Mary,
It's
that's
the
required.
average salary that we are required
Okay.
to post.
We have to do an annual compensation statement for
Total
our
employees.
employees.
Total comp to our
Yeah.
employees,
Yes.
yeah.
That is on their, it's called their Munis self-service account, so they can pull that up at any time after any paycheck. They
Right.
they get that overview.
I was thinking more of, you know, a teacher interested in our district goes to, for recruitment piece.
We
If they
have
go
a
to
one
that.
page, well, it's actually a 2-page, but it's a 2-page document that shows all the compensation, and that will be updated now with this new, that shows what is that total compensation.
And there's, of course, performance pay
Perfect. I was
coming
gonna say
out
that
of the
too.
classroom
Correct.
site
That's
fund,
right.
which is
Yes.
paid out in June of
Yeah,
every
right.
year. And this year, we're thinking, what, 3,800 a person?
That will come before us as well.
Yes.
Okay, terrific. Other questions? Amy, Gina?
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, Doug? We have a motion to approve our cafeteria plan. Is there a second?
Second?
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Okay, we will move on to item 6.3, approval of the first round of certified contracts for 2024-2025. Action item,
Drum
Dr.
roll.
Bartlett. I know.
Drum roll, yes. So presented for your approval is the attached list of professional staff being offered contracts in the first round. And then behind the list is a sample of all of the contracts that will be issuing. So this is a pretty comprehensive list of first round contracts.
What's the timing?
The time they will receive them tomorrow. And then they have 15 business days to sign them. Yes.
And
Teachers are on these 9 pages? How many staff members?
I don't know.
bunch,
Yes.
yeah.
Don't
We'll have to
know.
count one page and multiply.
I know, I'm not gonna do that.
And where are we registration-wise, so that we can continue to offer contracts after this initial
Yes, we're
offering
still
of
a little
contracts?
below. Let me see, I can pull it up right here.
Couple hundred students.
Really?
Couple hundred low.
Returning students that we don't have registration, what we assume returning, current students that we don't have registration
We have
from.
4,608 students registered as of last Friday.
So by the 30th, which is your next meeting, hopefully that will
And that'll be
change.
first.
We'll be having
We'll be bigger.
conversations. I'll be having conversations with the principals.
Oh,
I
Heard
know
somebody
they're-
mention that
they're
that's
calling.
usually mostly the high school. It's a bigger hit at the high school.
Well, at the high school, parents, students registered for classes and they assume they're in.
Yeah,
which
that's
is
where I heard
true,
it. You
and then
said it
they're
at a
also supposed
DFO
to
meeting.
register for school.
Yeah.
So we call them, oh, you know,
Actually, our high school already has 1,700 kids registered. So, and we were expecting 1,840. So,
when we move forward, you know, she always moves forward those that are obviously 8th grade, matriculating.
Right. Right. Okay.
And then we take all the open enrollment kids we can.
Okay. Well, we've got some people to hire here,
Yes,
folks.
we do.
Yes. Anybody
HR
wanna
works
make-
all day tomorrow just to send them out. Works all day. I did it last year, so I know.
You know how it goes, yeah.
I move the governing board approve the professional staff contracts and addenda for the 2024-2025 school year as presented, and that they direct them to be issued to the staff members listed as presented.
We have a motion and a second to approve the first round of certified contracts. All those in favor? Okay, opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Go hire some people. All right, we are winding down toward the end of our meeting. We do have item 7, which is a continuation of our discussion and reports. Item 7.1, the Pima County School Board Superintendent March 18th collaborative meeting that both Amy and I attended, and Doctors Camerzell and Bartlett were there as well. So we generally give a little overview of what happened at the collaborative. Amy, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Well,
It was a while ago. I mean, it feels like a really long time ago,
the
right?
first half of the meeting was a mixer because the technology wasn't working very well.
And what a mixer it was.
And what I learned was that Eileen was an independent thinker at high school. She was not a follower.
That is not what my partner who introduced me could. Anyway, that was
talk
fun.
about educational experiences, and
Very funny.
I have no recollection whatsoever about what was said about the two of you. So I only remember that
Fine.
Eileen was described as somewhat of a contrarian.
Who didn't have friends.
Yes.
He made me sound a little bit pathetic. I had to.
Very strange.
I wasn't a joiner, okay? That's all it was.
That was pretty funny.
I had
And then,
friends.
But the real part of the meeting was Todd Yeager presented on all the education-related bills in the legislature. And, you know, there are many. They kind of run the gamut. So,
Yeah. I don't think you really highlighted anything that isn't already on our radar. The one thing that, kind of sparked my concern was that he was saying that there wasn't a lot of opposition from anywhere on the partisan governing board election proposal. And I'm hoping to see that there will be some pushback on the partisan governing board election proposal at the state legislature from people who might recognize that it's a kind of a bad idea. But if not, we may have to rely on our governor to recognize what a bad idea it is.
I doubt that she would ever sign that.
I already read something that she had said if it made it to her, she would veto it.
I hadn't come across it, so I wasn't aware of where she was standing on this. But that's good to hear. I think I heard Todd Yeager mention that he would share his document of all of this legislation with us, and it's very possible I missed an email somewhere, but did he ever send that through?
He did not.
Okay.
We have a superintendent's meeting next week. I can ask, or I can ask in the
No,
meantime.
it's-
But much
yeah.
of it is irrelevant.
It is. And I actually have RSVP'd to do an ASBA webinar later this month where they're going to do a legislative update there. So you can stay tuned and I'll bring you more information. Okay, that was the collaborative. Anything else you wanted to add about the collaborative?
No.
All right, Arizona legislative and governmental activity kind of just got covered perhaps.
that.
Okay, any future agenda considerations? Doug, we have you, I'm sorry, go ahead. Okay, so you're good for 2 o'clock tomorrow? Tell me what time. I can, yeah. You want to do 1? Mary? Denise?
Can do one.
Can you do that? Okay, we'll do 1 o'clock tomorrow. Perfect. All right. You'll be remote next time, okay. Okay, no problem.
Skip months? No, I missed the month. Sorry, I was in May. The 30th.
Next board meeting's the 30th? Okay, got it.
I am a tentative for that one, just so
You're
you're aware.
tentative.
But Doug, you can definitely attend the 30th?
Okay, got it, good.
Awesome.
All right, well, if there's nothing else we need to discuss, I would be looking for a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second? Anybody? Motion and a second to adjourn, all those in favor?
Aye.
Doug? Ready to go? Okay.
Doug's an
Opposed, motion carries 4-0. All right, thank you everyone for sticking with us this evening. It was a longish one.
Thank you. It was a,
And if
Doug
you
is an
are here,
enthusiastic